Be with you on this Wednesday afternoon. We're happy as always to welcome Luke Johnson. He is co-host of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, joining us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Luke, always good to catch up. How are you on this Wednesday?
Doing good. Good Easter week going on. Baseball, quick turnaround. Golden Eagles headed to Virginia. Going to be wet up there in Norfolk. I know we want to talk some football, but they may have to reschedule some of this series. We didn't really talk about it today, but it's supposed to rain hardcore Friday, late tomorrow night. So if they get tomorrow in, they may have to do some finagling with the schedule up in Virginia.
I think that's going to be the case in a lot of places this weekend. We were talking about it earlier. The forecast in Oxford is for rain. Ole Miss is hosting Arkansas. The forecast in Augusta for the Masters is for rain over the next couple of days. And Tuscaloosa sits right in between those two. So Mississippi State headed to Alabama this weekend. We may have a lot of folks dealing with doubleheaders and trying to kind of squeeze some games in over the course of the weekend. How about that game last night, though? Down in the bottom of the eighth inning, helped out a little bit by Southeastern Louisiana. A couple of big hits in the inning as well. They score 6 and come from behind and get a midweek win that they needed to get.
They did. Pato got a home run early on, so good for him getting some confidence. Dickerson was suspended last night. They've got one more suspension left to serve. That'll be Reese Ewing tomorrow night against Old Dominion. But Dickerson was out, so they kind of shifted the infield around and started hot. And Will Armistead from Mooresville started the midweek and threw 4 shutout innings. And then kind of the bullpen left them, let Southeastern Louisiana back in it. But kind of the biggest play of the game was a Rodrigo Montenegro. Those Montenegros, man, they can hit. He got a 2-out single up the middle, tied the ball game, and then Golden Eagles put it away after that.
Yeah, so a good win, and we talked about the quick turnaround, but on the road back-to-back weeks, they managed to get 2 against Troy last week, and kind of so close to sweeping that series. Good Old Dominion team is tied for first in the Sun Belt at 7-2, along with Coastal Carolina. A series win just feels like it could be really, really big this weekend. Not just, there's a ton of baseball left to play, but in terms of getting a tiebreaker and playing well enough to win at least 2 on the road against the team at the top of the conference standings, feels like that'd be a big deal.
Well, your first 3 out of 4 series in the conference, in a new conference, are on the road. And you look at the Texas State series, you could have won that, but you won on Troy last week. Old Dominion is 33 in the RPI, so a series win would be absolutely huge. They're going to Old Dominion will throw Blake Morgan, a real crafty lefty, and this was the series last year where Old Dominion beat Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, and that was a game they beat Tanner Hall in game 1 when he struck out 14 Monarchs. Blake Morgan was really good. He only allowed 1 run through 7 innings, and you would think Old Dominion graduated guys like Andy Garriola and Matt Kootenai off that Gorilla Ball team last year. They're already at 61 home runs right now. They had 128 last year. They're at 61 this year, batting .315 as a team, so 5th nationally in home runs. And Southern Miss got to avoid the long ball, especially in their home park. And but yeah, we talked to Ted Alexander today from Old Dominion. Before they hit conference, really they had not played very many teams, high in the RPI. They lost to Liberty. And so they had a real nice win on the road against Georgia Southern. But this is a team that really, really can hit well.
We'll keep an eye on baseball this weekend with a series that begins tomorrow night. Football has come to an end. They had the black and gold game on Saturday, and then practiced Monday morning, and then a brief practice yesterday morning, and that kind of put a bow on the spring practice for Will Hall's club. What did you learn? What did you learn this spring?
That they are thrilled with the depth that they have on the roster. We had Joe Moreno on yesterday, who is the player personnel guy, and not to be a broken record, but they're just they look around and they say this is the type of roster we wanted when we came in. Really excited, of course, at the quarterback position. You kind of take it for granted that, you can complete a lot of passes at the Division I level. And they saw that in the spring. Will has talked about both Wiles and Edwards being guys that came in from programs where there was expectations, to play well and cultures of winning. Drake Clark, Rodriguez Clark, who transferred in from Memphis, he scored 2 touchdowns in the spring game. They really feel like they have a solid running back room now. When you have Kenyon Clay from Union, along with Frank Gore Jr., they feel like, they've got 3 guys that can, at least 2 guys that can supplement Frank to allow him to do what he does. With the depth at quarterback and the experience at quarterback now, some of these young receivers that we've been talking about for a year, 2 years, were really able to shine this spring. I mean, a veteran guy like Latrell Jones, who came from Pearl River, blazing fast speed. You start seeing now where the ball's being put out there, put where places they can catch. Defensively, the secondary really has come along. Some of the younger guys, height at the cornerback position, Tolles at 6'1", Caraway at 6'3". So they feel like the youth has shown the experience and then the depth behind it. And so I think Will's just kind of thrilled to where he is right now. Finally, may be able to do some of the things he's been wanting to do.
So let's go back to what you were talking about a second ago at the quarterback position. You say that they appear to be pretty pleased with the depth they've got there and think that they've got guys that compete. We've looked at that spot and said, it feels like maybe they should have been a little bit more aggressive in the transfer portal. What's the balance there? Have they got guys that you believe are good enough at that position?
So, yeah, so you're looking at, really 4 guys. One will be redshirted, Ethan Crawford out of Tuscaloosa. He came in early. Wilkie, for the most part, I would assume Will kind of talked about they were going to take it week to week to look like, his red shirt. But, from all looks, it's probably Edwards or Wiles' job to lose, for the simple fact of Wilkie. Will brought it up. This should be like Zach Wilkie's normal first spring for a normal, quarterback, but going into a true sophomore season. But
by the way, he started half a dozen games last year,
including at Miami. That was his first start, first career start in the Orange Bowl. So yeah, I think they feel like they can compete at that position. And I think from everything that we've heard publicly and, just the chatter, there will not be a starter named, until late in fall camp. And the reason for that, I think there's a lot of reasons. First off, let the guy, win that in fall camp. But man, in the transfer portal, who knows? And I'm not speaking about Wiles and Edwards, their personality or the type of people they are. But I'm saying if you name a starter coming out of spring, who's to say that you're going to look up and you're going to lose guys off your roster? We haven't really dabbled with the portal that far to see that. And so I think this will be a battle that goes late into fall camp.
And you think it's one of those 2 guys that wins it when it's all said and done, when the dust settles?
I think when it's all said, I think because they have a little more maturity. And it's not against Wilkie's, tool set. I do think going in, you could say, it is a three-man battle. I just think one of those 2 guys will probably emerge at the end.
We know how much Will Hall loves football and loves physical football and loves practice, but he's got a guy that's plenty proven in Frank Gore Jr. How involved was Gore in spring practice?
Well, like Clark got most of the carries at him and Clay. Clark scored 2 touchdowns in the spring game, and what else does Gore have to prove himself? They know what's
Nothing.
Crazy is you got a guy like that, and he is proven at every position on the offense except he could be even though he's small, he could be half an offensive lineman in his pass pro and tight end or whatever. But he's proven it everywhere else. The dude could probably punt or kick if he wanted to. So yeah, he limited in the sense what else is there to prove?
Yeah, and I guess I was just, even going through practices, did they hold him out some? Did they limit him, or was he just full go? Just not as many reps in scrimmage situations?
Yeah, just Frank. Yeah, like the spring game. You saw Clark getting, and that's because they want those other two guys to feel confident. I mean, if you limit Frank in some ways, but you allow those guys to be able
Yeah.
to see their full tool set of what they bring.
And look, I probably look at the world through a different lens than Will Hall looks at the world. But if I'm in charge there, he doesn't even get a helmet for spring practice. No shoulder pads. We're going to do a little bit of light running, and we might let you experience what it's like to be a manager and hand out some water. You're not carrying the football this spring. Not as long as I'm in charge. But I think Will Hall probably looks at it a little bit different than I do.
Yeah, there's some Bobby Hall genes in there too.
That's right. Luke, thanks as always for your time. Have a great Easter weekend.